Hey, shout out to everybody who came out today. This is Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Please like, subscribe, also the notification bell, just so you get the newest and the bonus content first. So let's just go ahead and jump straight in to what the topic is today. We'll be talking about the Clippers and their road games coming up. And I want to talk about the opportunities that they have in some of the road games they'll have, and what should we expect from them going forward. So they have a 9-game road trip. They'll be out for maybe 13 days away from home, and some of the teams they'll be facing is the Philadelphia 76ers. They got the Pacers. They got the Charlotte Hornets. They got the Knicks. They have some teams that they'll be facing that I feel like they'll have opportunity to show out against and definitely show up against. I definitely think that from what we saw the last couple games, including especially the Denver Nuggets, they came back from a 25-point lead a couple nights ago against the Denver Nuggets, and last night's game 128 to, or should I say the other day's game 128 to 130. Was definitely a very good game, very entertaining, and very, very surprising. To see some players like Zubac was the one that stood out to me the most. He had like 32 points. I thought that was very impressive by him. I definitely saw a lot of his talent. I've seen his talent before now, but it's definitely impressive to see him put together a game like that, especially with his name being thrown around in regards to trades, things like that, because he hasn't lived up to expectation in most Clipper fans' minds, and as mine as well. So, it's definitely good to see that. It's definitely very positive. So I definitely like seeing that as well. And then you see players like Brandon Boston, who comes out and, he gives, very productive points, 13 points in like 20 minutes, I believe, against the Nuggets as well. And then Reggie Jackson, last couple games, been playing pretty good, been dunking on some people lately too. So that's definitely a positive to see that as well. And you definitely want to see those good things happening. But the opportunity for the next 9 games is definitely going to be on the road. They're definitely going to be the opposing team coming into a home team arena, which means they don't have no backup support except themselves. No home crowd, no anything. And this is probably one of the longest stretches of road games they've been on in a while. So it definitely can benefit them, but it's only going to benefit them at least if they come close to breaking even. So in a 9-game road stretch, they're going to at least need to go 4-5, bare minimum, because they're trying to, of course, keep up with the Lakers and the Timberwolves between the 7th and 9th spot in the West, so they can, bare minimum, be in the play-in tournament. But, of course, they'd rather be in the playoffs, so getting the 8th seed is the goal. And from what Ty Lue has been able to do, pull strings, press the right buttons on players, it's been impressive to see what he's been able to do, lately. And just over time with the team, they've definitely, they definitely responded at times, but, there's times where, of course, they could have responded better and played better, and I definitely criticized them as well. And there's definitely been times like that, even with PG out there this year. So, I definitely don't want to say it's all the role players and all themselves. They're not good enough, because they are, and they definitely are a deep team. And if they have Kawhi and PG, they're definitely a championship contender from what I see. I don't personally think no team in the West scares them, and it shouldn't, because they definitely have a formidable team to withstand anything that anybody throws at them in the Western Conference. And I definitely think that, a lot of people might be overlooking them right now just because they don't have their 2-star players. And on top of that, they have a bunch of role players that a lot of people think are afterthoughts, or maybe role players that haven't developed yet, and young players. But if they actually play together and play hard and play smart and go on the road and, think about the word turnovers. If they think about this word turnovers, they'll be fine, which means their goal on this next 9-game road trip, or this 13-day road trip they're having, is the main goal should be to have as less turnovers as possible in these 9 games that they're about to face on the road. Because when you play on the road, you have very, very little room for error, even more so than you do if you're at home. And even if you're the home team, you still have, very small window of error when you're playing really good teams and teams that are competitive. But at the same time, on the road, that's magnified times 2. And I know the Clippers and Ty Lue definitely have talked about that, and definitely probably have mentioned that in the locker room amongst one another. And they have to understand what the moment is. They have to be prepared. And so far, like I said, it's been a very roller coaster season for the Clippers, but it's been a roller coaster season for them predominantly because of their injuries and COVID. You could look at it from a multitude of ways. And it's just one of those things, every other team is going through the same thing, so it's nothing no different for any other team. But for the Clippers, they definitely have an opportunity to win some games. And, like I said, in this road trip they're going on, teams like the Charlotte Hornets, the Pacers, the Knicks, teams like that. Now, they do have Philly in there too. That's going to be a difficult one, but they can find a way to beat some of those teams because as of right now, the way they're constructed, they're good enough to beat those teams. They're good enough to beat, Indiana Pacers. They're good enough to beat Charlotte Hornets and New York Knicks. They're good enough to beat teams like that. So, some of these games coming up are going to be tough. They're going to be on the road, but at the same time, the opportunity is there to, get some wins, steal some wins, and the main thing is, like I said, turnovers, have as less as possible. But another thing to look at as well, take advantage of your opportunities. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. If it's a team like the Knicks, you definitely have the firepower to beat a team like that because they're so up and down themselves. They're not that great. You can say the same thing about Charlotte. They're getting better, but LaMelo Ball hasn't turned into the player that a lot of people think he could be, which is a possible star player in the league as of yet. And like I said, you definitely have a chance to beat them. Indiana Pacers, I think you've already beat them like last week, so you definitely have a chance to beat them. So, like I said, the opportunity is there, but the Clippers have to seize that. They have to understand that, we can't worry about Kawhi and PG not being here. We have to worry about what we have on the floor and understand what we have on the floor is good enough to win if we play the way we were supposed to and understand the operation and the system that Ty Lue is trying to teach us. And that's basically what the players have to mimic and think in their mind when they're on the floor. You have a bunch of young players, granted, but you still have some young, talented Lions there. I like Brandon Boston. I'm starting to like Amir Coffey. You look at, they got other players on that. Jay Scrubb hasn't played or anything like that, but they have some really good pieces. I like Terrence Mann, of course, even though he hasn't lived up to expectation this year, I thought so far. I still like Luke Kennard a little bit. He's starting to rub off on me a little bit more than what he has in the past. But still, you have some great, or should I say some really, really good young players, young talent, and the Clippers can definitely steal some of those games. Now, of course, it's going to be some tough games in there. But the only two tough games out of their next several games is really going to just be the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. All the other games, they definitely have a good chance of winning. Like I said, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Charlotte Hornets, and they got the Orlando Magic in there too. So that's what I'm saying. Out of these next 8 or 9 games, they need to at least break even, bare minimum, because like I said, the goal is to make the playoffs, not worry about the play-in tournament or just do the best they, or just, worry about, okay, we'll be fine in the play-in tournament. No, the goal is to win as many games as you can, because even though you're going to be on the road, you can definitely build confidence by winning games like this on the road, because when you go back home and have a few games home stretch, you definitely can go out there and put your talents on display, because you went through a 9-game or 8-9 game road stretch where you did very well, or you broke even. And that's basically what the Clippers want to do. Now, if they do very well on the 8-9 on this big road trip they're going on, then that's great. But bare minimum, they definitely want to at least break even, and bare minimum, they should break even, because some of the teams I named, they really shouldn't. I'm not gonna say they shouldn't have no problems, but those are winnable games for the Clippers. And since they're winnable games, you have to find a way to win those. It's just no other way to look at it. It's no other way to slice it. You have to find a way to win those games, and you definitely have the talent enough to win those games, because if you can, go in a game against the reigning MVP and beat the Denver Nuggets a few nights ago and you were down by 25, and then the other night you played against them again and the game is damn near classic, 130 to 128, you get 32 points from Zubac. You definitely have a talent enough to beat a team like Charlotte, Orlando, New York. You see what I'm saying? The Pacers, you definitely have talent enough to do that. So you have to go out there and you got to prove it. You got to go out there and want it. And that's what I'm saying the Clippers are going to have to do. They're going to have to think in their mind, less turnovers, be more aggressive going to the basket as well, because like I said, when you're on the road, you have to be aggressive, and you have to understand that every game is magnified times 2, and you have to understand that's what builds confidence the most when you're on the road. You can win a lot of home games and be an average team, but if you can win a lot of road games and home games, that's when you're a better team than most around you, and that's what the Clippers really want to do. On this road stretch they have here, they definitely need to implement less turnovers, be as efficient as possible, and got to find a way to break even bare minimum. That's their goal. That's what Ty Lue should be preaching, and I believe that he is. And he's been known for pulling the right strings out of players. So, he definitely pulled the right one or pushed the right button on Zubac the other night, because I was very impressed with what I saw. And it's really, really sad to see that, because you just think that, damn, Zubac has the talent to do this every night. Maybe not score 32 points, but he has a talent to be way more efficient on the offensive end and be way more of an offensive threat than what he usually is. And, play a little bit of defense on the other end as well, and anchoring and holding down the paint. So you definitely want to see more from him, and hopefully he can build on top of what he did the other night, along with other players. I've been impressed with, Isaiah Hartenstein, another young player I definitely like, high, full of energy, definitely one of those type guys you need in the locker room and on the floor at any point in time. Can definitely give you a lift and a boost. And I definitely like what he brings as well. Like I said, I like Brandon Boston. I definitely started to adopt Mirror Coffee as well, liking what, I see what he's able to do. Definitely not afraid of the moment type guy. And he definitely can knock down some big shots. And, like I said, with Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard being there, that makes their bench really, really deep. And like I said, even they still got some veteran players there too. You got Serge, you got Marcus Morris, even though I don't think he played. I think Nicholas Batum is out too, which that's a big one. I'm definitely a huge, always been a huge fan of Nicholas Batum. He's a great role player, always been very, very good. And I feel like he has a lot of winning intangibles, so they definitely need him. But I definitely think they'll get him back within the road trip, hopefully. And we'll see how it goes there. But, hey, that's my take on the situation. Definitely hope that they, find a way to at least break even and keep themselves in contention, because the big guns, the big guys, the hitters, Kawhi and PG, they coming back, but you got to stay afloat enough for them to want to come back and make sense for them to come back, at least if you're in the playoff picture. But as I said before, that's my take on the situation. You leave any comments in the comment section, as always, and let me know what you think. And hey, Cali out.